You have the floor.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Chanasa, and I'm a senior ambassador. And today we have Miss Dixon here, who is an author and also a Katie alumni. So, Miss Dixon, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and who you are?
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Jordan Dixon. I am a Kingju alumni class of 2011. I am currently a substitute teacher for the Los Angeles Unified School District. However, I'm also an author, a motivational speaker, and a wellness curator. I operate a brand, a positive lifestyle brand called Purpose Unfolded, which is dedicating to inspiring people to believe in themselves and create the life they desire to live. And so along with that, I also host a weekly podcast called the Purpose Unfolded Podcast, where I talk about all things purpose living, faith building, wellness, community, and so many other things related to self-help and personal development. So I'm very excited and grateful to be here with you all today.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So I know you said you have a lot of careers. Why did you choose to be specifically an author and a substitute teacher?
Yeah, so I'll talk about the substitute teaching aspect of it first, and then I'll go into more of like the creative side. So ever since I was younger, I've always really enjoyed and had a passion for working with children, working with students. I really enjoy being able to be that person to be in the space to empower students and to uplift them, because I understand that people might not always have that person in their space, whether it be at home or in their immediate surroundings. And so I really just enjoy the aspect of being able to be that positive example in students' lives. While also being able, to teach them as well. I think it's really important to focus on academics when it comes to teaching, but I think it's simultaneously important to also focus on building them up, as humans who are eventually going to go out into the real world and need to know how to, navigate through life. So, yeah, that's some of the things that really draw me to teaching. And then I also like the flexibility of being a substitute teacher as well. And in regards to the creative side of it, me being an author, my mother is a writer and my father is a motivational speaker. So around the time of me kind of being in college, my first few years, I started realizing and really tapping into the practice of writing and journaling. I used to be very shy, very quiet, very introverted, still am sometimes. But I've grown a little bit out of that. But when I was in college, I was still very shy, and I felt like I didn't really have anybody to talk to. I wasn't really comfortable talking to other people. So I started writing my thoughts down in the notes section of my phone. And then I started sharing them on platforms like, my Twitter and my Instagram. And I realized that, there were other people who resonated with the way that I was feeling and, the thoughts that I was thinking. And so that is what really gave me the inspiration and the motivation to want to keep expanding myself as a writer and eventually into an author.
Okay, so I know you said that you started to cultivate what you wanted your career to be, but I was wondering, was that your dream career in high school? And if it wasn't, when did during your whole timeline, when did you see that as your dream career? Was it in college? Was it recently, or did you always want to be what you are right
now? So I remember growing up, I always wanted to be a pediatrician. So I always wanted to help kids and help people, feel good. And then I got to college and I realized that in order for me to do that, I had to I had to take all these math classes and science classes. And that kind of discouraged me because I felt like I wasn't always the best at math. So then I decided to change my major to child development. Which still allowed me to still be able to work with children, not only children, but me taking child development classes, it helped me just be able to understand people generally, right? From childhood, even up into adulthood and how they grow. And so I think the transitions that I experienced, it's always still kind of rooted in those very early stages of wanting to be a pediatrician because I wanted to help people. But over time, it just kind of evolved into me eventually arriving at this place of, now being a teacher, but also being somebody who was kind of a public figure in some ways, where people, find empowerment through, the things that I share and the insight that I offer. So um, I would say, being a teacher and being an author and doing the things that I do was never like the very first thought. It was, I guess it's just as it continued to unfold it over the years, it's, gotten to this place.
Okay, thank you for that. And if you're comfortable, could you share a general salary that you have like as a substitute teacher? Because I know as an author, there's no really set salary. And for like you being an author, how much did you really have to invest in yourself to get to the point where you are right now?
Yeah, so in terms of being a substitute teacher, I think right now it's currently it's like $33 an hour. So depending on how much you work, you can make a pretty good salary. And regarding being an author, so this right here this is the first book that I wrote. I published this in 2017. It's a chapbook of inspirational quotes and journal entries about growth, identity, passion, and love. It's called Written Roses. And so at the time that I invested into this, I think I spent maybe about like 900 to like $1,000 or so, but that was like the very first initial whole process of like getting it published and sending the manuscript to the publisher and all of those things, getting the 100, I started off with 150 copies that I wanted to sell at my book signing. But then it's like, the way that you market yourself and the way that you, present it, eventually you can make that investment, you can make that back in your revenue and in your profit. And then with this is my second book I recently just published. It's called My Journal, My Safe Space. So it's a self-help and development journal with writing prompts and positive affirmations, podcast suggestions, and things like that. And so for this is available on Amazon. And so I didn't really have to spend so much in order to get it on Amazon. But the thing is for that is when I want to order copies or when somebody buys a copy, they take a portion, of the profit that I would typically get. So it really just depends on, the sizing of your book, if it has pictures in it, if it has color in it. So it really just depends. But I would say in between about like 500 to at least like 900, $1,000 or so is typically like the range in which I typically spend on my book publishing.
Thank you for sharing that. So how was your career like before COVID with being a substitute teacher and being an author, and how has it changed now?
Yeah, so at the time that COVID hit, I was on a long-term assignment for a third grade elementary class at Leafwood Elementary. And so obviously we were in person. And when it first happened, our assumption was that we were only going to be gone for 2 weeks. And then that 2 weeks turned into 2 months. And then now a year, right? So it changed because, especially with the youth, I think it's really important for young elementary students to have that physical space of being able to socialize with their friends, being able to connect with their teacher. And so having to transition from being in person, being able to, go to lunch with their friends, being able to go to recess with their friends and do all of the things that they typically do as kids, to not being able to have access to that because of COVID, it was somewhat difficult because you can't really, you can still talk to them on the computer, but it's like you don't really feel that connection. So that was something that we really had to, just practice doing, being able to maintain that teacher-student connection, but also that student and student connection. So when it first happened, a lot of my students were saying how much they missed their friends and stuff. And so I always had to make sure just to give them the opportunity, even before I started teaching or started the day, to be able to check in with their friends and let them know like, hey, I miss you, or how are you doing, and all of these things, because I think that's really important. And then in terms of being an author and just being a speaker, before COVID, I was, always at a lot of networking events, whether it was me selling my books or whether it was me hosting an event or speaking on a panel. And so when COVID hit, I had to transition from that, and I was no longer able to go to those networking events. I was no longer able to go to these art shows. And so a lot of the people in the network who I'm connected with, in like the creative world, we kind of had to find a way to do what we do, but like on Instagram or like, virtually, to where we can still continue what it is that we were already building. So it really just took some adjustments. But I think when you're passionate about something and it's something that you really enjoy doing, it's like, you're going to do what you have to do to kind of find a way. So.
Okay. What motivates you to work every day, whether it be on your books or to go into the classroom as a substitute teacher? And I know you also said that you have your own blog. So what motivates you to write every day in terms of being author and on your blog?
I think it's really important to be able to have a space where you're not like keeping all of your thoughts and everything all up in your head. Because sometimes when you do that, it can, really cloud your mind and prevent you from being able to think clearly. And so for me, I think one of the things that inspires me to write so much is not only because I know it's like a form of therapy for me, but I also know that what it is that I'm writing, and back to how I was saying how, when I first started writing, I realized that there were other people who resonated with me. I think that presence of people resonating and feeling empowered and feeling like they're seen and heard, even if I don't know what it is that they're going through, me simply being able to share something as though it's exactly for them, I think that is what really inspires me to keep going and to continue to, write the things that I write and share what it is that I share. And it's also a way for me to continue to show up for myself. I can't continue to grow or continue to, evolve as the person that I am if I don't show up and do the work. So even on some days where I don't want to write or where I don't want to, read the self-help books that I like to read, I know that there's value that I can gain and get from that is ultimately going to help continue to uplift me and help me grow and unfold as a person. So that's really what I would say is the thing that kind of keeps me going, knowing that, it's not just about me, it's about other people and who I've been called to help and serve in the world.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. So I know you talked about networking. So how do you maintain good relationships with the people that you network with and also with your coworkers at the school?
So it's a little different regarding school because like since I'm a substitute teacher, I don't really have like many like teacher friends like that. Only like the people who kind of book me for the assignments or maybe the teachers that I'm subbing for. But in terms of networking and me being an author and having my brand, the way that I'm able to maintain connections is just showing up for them the way that they show up for me. So if somebody supports me or maybe reshare something that I've shared, I also find value in being able to do that for them and support them as well. And also just checking in on them, seeing how people are doing, not, seeking anything in return or not checking in just because you want something, but really checking in and following up because you genuinely care. I think is the way that I've personally been able to maintain positive connections and being willing to collaborate. And it doesn't mean that you have to collaborate with everybody who says that they want to do something with you, because sometimes it's not always in alignment, or sometimes that's just not the right opportunity. But when it is in alignment and when it is the right opportunity and you feel like, you can really do something good with it, that's something that I always allow myself to kind of say yes to. So I've been able to develop a lot of positive relationships by choosing to collaborate on other people's events or things that, they wanted to, create, but they might have needed some extra help and support with it. So.
Okay, thank you for sharing that also. So in terms of in college, because all the students in here are mostly juniors, what do you suggest majoring in if you want to become an author, if you want to become a substitute teacher? And what did you major in?
So When I was I went to Cal State Northridge for undergrad, and I majored in child and adolescent development. But with that, I had to take some like psychology courses as well. And then when I graduated from Northridge, I went on to get my master's degree in school counseling from Cal State Dominguez Hills, and I recently graduated in 2019. So when it comes to substitute teaching, I don't know. I feel like you can major in not anything. I feel like anything that you major in, there's a way that you can offer value to your students, right? So it's like I didn't major in math, but I was still able to teach math to them. I didn't major in science, but I was still able to, major in science with them. So I think it's important to, major in something that you actually, can find interest in and you can actually appreciate, because there's going to be days, in school where you might not want to do the work or you might not want to show up. And if you're not studying something that you're not genuinely interested in, it's going to create more of a challenge in order for you to do that. But when you choose something that you actually value and can, find some type of interest in, even in the days where you might not want to do the homework or you might not want to study for that test, you have that extra, boost behind you, backing you up, because you have the actual genuine interest. And then in terms of, being an author, I didn't really major in anything to do that. That was just something that was kind of like, I guess, a skill that I personally have within myself that over time I've just developed. But there are different resources and different things that you can partake in to help you develop and build your skills, as a writer or even as an author who might be trying to publish their first book. So I definitely, recommend that as well. And even just going on YouTube, like I say, YouTube is like YouTube University. You can learn anything on YouTube. So, when it came to me wanting to publish my book, that's where I went, because I didn't have anyone else that I knew who had published a book before. So I went on YouTube and searched up, how do you publish your first book? And I just took the notes and I went from there.
Do you feel like King Drew prepared you for what you majored in? And do you feel like it prepared you for your career right now?
I would definitely say King Drew prepared me for the level of work that comes with college, like being in college. I feel like, and when you're a student, I remember when I was a student there and some of the assignments, I'm just like, why? Like, this is so hard. Like, it's so much work. I don't understand. And then like when I got to Northridge, and I think it was one of my English classes, and we had to like annotate and write all of these essays and stuff. For me, it was easy and I already felt prepared because I had already had that preparation from King Drew. So it was like one of those moments where I'm like, okay, I didn't really understand it back then, but now I'm in a space where I can actually fully appreciate the preparation that I got from King Drew, and being able to manage multiple assignments and different workloads and things like that. It helped me be able to better manage the level of work that came with being in college, to the point where I didn't really feel that overwhelmed, because when I was at King Drew, I had assignments like that where I really had to, focus and do what it is that I had to do. So when it came to me going to Northridge, even though it was still somewhat of a challenge, I didn't feel like I couldn't do it, because I knew that being at King Drew, they already had prepared me for that next level.
So I was wondering, what's your favorite part about being an author specifically? Because I know you kind of touched on being a substitute teacher, but like, what's your favorite part about being an author, publishing, and networking with other authors?
I think one of the things that I really enjoy is being able to like initially have this vision, right? So this book, like the books that I wrote, and even just the other things that I've done, it didn't start out that way. It started out as an idea in my head, And then I brainstormed about it and started doing whatever I had to do in order to, bring it to fruition. So in terms of being an author, just being a creative in general, I think what I really appreciate and like most is the fact that I'm able to prove to myself that anything that I want to do, if I really hold myself accountable and do what is required to do that thing and see it through, then it's going to happen, right? I could have just left these ideas for these books as an idea, right? But I knew that it was something that I wanted to put out and something that I wanted to accomplish for myself, but something that I knew that would offer value to other people as well. And so I think the thing of being able to really go through that process of like making it all happen is what I really, enjoy. And it kind of, just serves as a reminder that if you put your mind to it, you can do it. And it sounds really cliche because you might hear it all the time, but it's true. And that's something that I continue to teach myself.
Thank you for sharing. So I was wondering, could you share a memorable moment, whether it's good or bad, from your career or life after leaving King Drew?
Yeah, so a memorable moment. Okay, so recently, maybe about a year ago, so I write poetry from time to time. And so I remember one time I wrote this poem and I shared it and it got a lot of like really good feedback. And from there, I had got the idea of like, oh, I can take this poem and create a whole community of like women who kind of, share the same values and we can have sisterhood and all this stuff. And so, I started to like create the community and I got all this merchandise made and everything like that. And because of the poem received so much positive feedback in my head, I was like, okay, sure enough, they're gonna want to buy these shirts. They're gonna want to buy, these tote bags and stuff that I spent so much money on. And then when it came down to me like promoting it and like selling it, nothing happened. And so for me, it was a discouraging moment because it was something that for me I was so passionate about, and I thought that okay, because this thing kind of had this success, then it would kind of transfer over to this next thing that I was going to do. And so I really had my hopes up for it, but that wasn't the case at all. Like nobody really kind of you know wanted to buy it and stuff. And so in my head, I started feeling bad, like, dang, I spent all this money investing into this vision that I had that I thought it was going to work and it didn't work. And so in that moment, I had to allow myself to understand that just because I might have, failed at this thing, or just because this thing wasn't maybe as successful as I thought it was going to be in my mind, doesn't mean that that's a reflection, of my potential to succeed in the next thing, or it doesn't mean that it's a reflection of my own personal worth or my own personal value. So I could have easily allowed that to stop me and just be like, man, like I don't want to do anything else because I thought that they were going to support this. I thought they were going to buy this thing and they didn't. And that can be really discouraging when you're really passionate about something. But I had to realize that didn't always maybe see the vision the way that I saw my vision because it wasn't theirs, it was mine. So I had to just take that as a learning moment and just allow myself just to keep pushing. And just to, be patient with my process. So that was definitely a teachable moment as well.
Thank you so much for sharing. So I was wondering, do you want to leave the students with anything? Like, what key points do you want them to take away from your presentation?
There's a lot that I can think of. Um, so one of the things that I would want to share with you all, and it's kind of like a note to myself, is to just do your best to not allow fear to stop you. And a lot of times, we can have these ideas, whether it be wanting to get admitted to this particular college or wanting to go into this particular career, but we might have this fear that maybe we're not going to be successful, or maybe we might have this fear of like, okay, we're not meant to be in this space, even though we have the desire to be in that particular space or do that thing. So if it's anything that I would share with you all, is just to be mindful of how much of your energy and your attention that you put into your fears, because I wouldn't want that to stop you guys from doing the very thing that might actually bring you so much, fulfillment and purpose and satisfaction. um, so even as I share that with you all, I'm sharing that with myself too. Because even though, I've gotten to this point, there's still some next steps that I want to take, but there's always like that sense of fear, like, okay, well, what if this doesn't happen? Or what if it doesn't go this way? But it's like, what if it doesn't? What if it turns out completely different, right? So yeah, just be mindful of that. And always, this shirt says, believe in yourself and create the life you desire to live. So these are one of my shirts that I recently created. And that's like one of my slogans. So just the power of believing in yourself, and knowing that once again, whatever it is that you have on your mind to do, you can do it. You just have to believe in yourself enough in order to see it through and to show up to do the work.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. So I'm gonna open it up to the students. If they want to ask any questions, you guys can unmute or just type it in the chat, and we'll give them a minute to do that. But until then, if you want to share anything about your career, being a substitute teacher, having your own blog, feel free to.
Yeah. So although I really enjoy being a substitute teacher, I enjoy more being able to like be an author or be a wellness creator, curator, or having a podcast, because I really enjoy the flexibility of it. And I enjoy being able to kind of do like my own thing in some way. Um, so just in terms of podcasting, for example, for me, I really enjoy that because it gives me a space to kind of, work out my thoughts and what it is that I might be feeling, but it also allows me to open up the conversation for other people to start exploring that same topic for themselves. And that was one of the things that really helped me find my voice. Like when I was a junior at King Drew, like I never imagined that I'd be doing what I'm doing now. I was so quiet, like I never really talked and things like that. So over time, just podcasting and doing things like this has helped me be able to find more of my voice, which is something that, I really appreciate, because I love being able to speak to people and kind of, plant seeds in their lives. So in terms of podcasting, that's one of, and blogging as well. That's one of the things that I really enjoy, being able to, sort out my thoughts, but also speak to other people too.
Thank you so much. So there are some questions in the chat. Jasmine asks, in the process of writing your book, did you ever get writer's block? If so, how did you get out of that?
Yes. Writer's block is real. In terms of, so when I was writing this, I didn't really get writer's block because this is more so like quotes. So within this book, there's like just small like little quotes, right? Or like affirmations or journal entries. So for that wasn't difficult. It was just more so about how, like, which quotes and which journal entries I actually wanted to share. Because when it comes to writing, it's a very vulnerable space. It's like you're opening up, you're opening yourself up for people to get insight on, like, your thoughts or your feelings or just your life. And sometimes that can be a very vulnerable place to be in, because you never really know how people are going to receive it. You don't know what people are going to say about it. And so it was just really just figuring out, okay, how I wanted to organize it, what I felt was really going to like serve a purpose in people's lives. But there's also a book right now that I've been working on, and I haven't really I kind of had to take a break because I just lost the inspiration. So for me, I don't really like to force anything. I think things turn out the best way when it happens authentically and organically without any force. And sometimes you kind of just have to sit on it and just trust that eventually, you're going to get yourself out of that writer's block. And what helps me with that is surrounding myself in places that I feel are going to inspire me. So I don't know if you guys ever heard, there's a place called the Poetry Lounge on Fairfax near the Melrose area. And every Tuesday before the pandemic, they used to do Tuesday night poetry. And whenever I was, had writer's block or something, I would always go there because that was a space that I knew that I would be able to hear from other writers and other poets. And somehow that always ended up kind of getting me out of that space. So in terms of, writer's block, I think whenever I do experience it and have experienced it, I've always just found myself in a space that was going to help bring out more of that inspiration so that I can keep writing.
Thank you for sharing. Christian asks, where do you hope to be 10 years from now?
10 years from now. 10 years from now, I hope to be doing what it is that I'm already doing. I hope to be able to continue living in my purpose. And what I mean by that is being able to continue to write books, being able to continue to connect with other people and build relationships, being able to continue to, create these ideas that not create them, but being able to act on the ideas that I have, whether it be another book or whether it be, another t-shirt or a certain event or whatever it is that comes to my mind that I feel led to do. I see myself being able to really just expand and being able to, go to more schools and more universities and give talks like this that I'm giving to you all today. But ultimately, I always just say I want to be in a space of purpose because that's how you live with intention and that's how you live with mindfulness. And for me, I think that's really important, living with a presence and a sense of intention and mindfulness, because then it's like, you're aware of what you do and who you surround yourself with. And that really ultimately has an impact on your life as well. So yeah, I just want to be doing what I'm doing now, but a little bit more evolved and expanded.
I can definitely relate with the being aware thing because I want to work on that more as well. Kevin asks, was there ever a moment in your career where you were subbing and you felt like you didn't want to be a substitute teacher anymore?
Yes. So I've kind of been feeling that way recently, actually. And not that, I don't enjoy teaching or that I don't enjoy working with students and things like that. Like I really love it, but sometimes I feel like it can be a bit limiting just because I know that that's ultimately not truly the space that I truly see myself in. And so it's so funny that he asked that question. I feel challenged in some ways to like conquer the fear that I've been experiencing just from that question. But yeah, definitely. And with that, it just comes from me knowing that I can do more and knowing that there's so much more expansion for me to experience. And in order for me to be able to do that and really expand the work that I'm doing, I might have to remove myself from a particular space, not because I don't like it or not because, it hasn't added value to my life, but it's just sometimes it's like the moment that you're in, it serves a moment and it serves a purpose. And then sometimes you have to grow from it and you have to evolve and go into the next thing that you've really been called to do. So yes, definitely.
Thank you. Jemiah asked, do you feel like you needed a group of people to support you every step of the way? And was there anyone that made you feel discouraged?
Yeah. The question was, did I feel like I needed somebody to support me?
Yeah, like a group of people, like a support group type thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really important. growing up, I didn't really have like a lot of friends or people that I feel like I can confide in or just talk to about certain things. But as I got older, I really started realizing the value of friendship and the value of community. And your community and your friends, it can be two people, it can be three people. So the people who I consider my community and my support group is a very select few of people who I've grown to really care for. I've grown to trust. I've grown to really feel supported by them and being able to support them as well. And I think that's important because sometimes, you know, you might not always be in a space to want to pick yourself up and do what you want to do. You might not always be in a space to be able to encourage yourself and support yourself. And although it might be amazing to be able to always fully support yourself and be like, yeah, like I can do this, I believe in myself, we're humans. So sometimes we're just not always going to feel that way. So I think having a support system who knows you and who's able to help you tap into that potential and remind you of who you are and who you've, you know, been created to be and what it is that you can do, it's important to have people like that in your space. So that they can support you in times where you might not feel strong enough to support yourself. And then in terms of the discouragement, I've definitely had moments where I've shared something with people who I thought was going to support me and, you know, encourage me, but then I receive, you know, the opposite type of response. And that can be discouraging sometimes too, especially if you're sharing with somebody who you feel like, okay, I'm going to go to this person and they're going to root me on and they're going to encourage me. And then they don't do that. And so something I've had to learn is just not to take it personal, because sometimes it's not always personal. Sometimes people, they just don't know. Sometimes they don't know that they're coming off in a particular way. They might not know that they're being discouraging. And once again, people might not always see your vision the way that you see it because it's not theirs, it's your own. So in that moment of me being discouraged, I've had to find the balance of kind of listening to what they were saying, but like deciding, okay, am I really going to allow this to change what it is I want to do or the direction that I want to go in? And that's, you know, a choice that you have to make for yourself. And sometimes it comes with a certain risk, sometimes it comes with the reward, but you just have to be willing just to take either or, however it comes to you.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. I think that's all the questions that they have. I just want to say thank you because I really did learn a lot from everything you're saying. I used to want to be author, still kind of iffy on it right now, but I did gain a lot from what you said, and I hope the students did too. So I'm gonna pass it off to Ms. Soto and Ms. Cooper. And again, thank you for coming and sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again for sharing your experiences and your words of wisdom.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
And I don't know why I can't move my computer, but that's fine. It froze a bit on me, but you can hear me.
Then, I'm sorry. And also, Ms. Dixon, can you share how students can know more about you, maybe online? Is there like IG or some other information that you could put in the chat that we could share with them?
Yeah, I can put it in the chat. I just saw somebody ask about some like the shirts. I'm currently working on getting some more shirts made. As far as the book, it was available on my website, but the personal copy is sold out. So you can go to, it's available on Amazon, and I'll type in all of the information. So the website, so this is my website. The Jordan, let me make sure it's typed the correct way. thejordandanielle.com. And then on my socials, I really just do like Instagram. The one for my brand page is Purpose Unfolded. PURPOSEUNFOLDED. And my personal one is the Jordan Danielle. PURPOSE Unfolded. The Jordan Danielle. Okay. And so if you're interested in getting a copy of the journal, if you click the link in my bio on my Instagram, or even if you go on my website, the link is there and it'll direct you exactly to the Amazon website to where you can get a copy. And also that's where if you feel, you know, if you're like somebody who likes to maybe listen to like podcasts and stuff, you can listen to the podcast as well by clicking on the links that are available there. And for those who are interested in the shirts, like I said, I don't have any available at the moment, but if you stay updated and connected with me, they are coming soon. So, yes.
Yes, we want shirts.
Yes. Yeah, I would love to. But when I get some more, I'll definitely email you the pins so I can let you know.
Excellent. And then ambassadors, if we could make a copy of her contact information, I want to make sure we include that when we upload the video to our YouTube channel so that people can access information about the speaker too. So I'm actually talking probably to Shanasa or Reggie. Can you? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Got it. Thank you. Well, we thank you so much. This was awesome, a great way to spend this beautiful day. So thank you for your time. We so appreciate you.
Yes,
and you will
thank
hear
you as well.
And I was just going to say, and you will hear from us again. You will hear from me.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, great. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for allowing me to share, and great luck with the rest of your guys' school semester.